My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Now podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
I was so impressed with you having like a form to fill out before the podcast. I'm like, he does a little bit of work on the end.
I just did that. Like, I just started doing that last couple of weeks because I was like, you know, I always have to ask for that information after when I release the episode. I'm like, I just need to create a form so I can get it all in one shot, you know. And so I have two forms. I have a before I've asked you to do it, and then an after, like. So, like, some people, I put a blanket post up, like, in one of the comedy groups. I'm like, hey, fill this out if you want to be on my podcast. So it's a little different than, oh, I've already asked this person. I don't need to know what their availability is. We've already scheduled it. So here's another form where I can get information. So
right. That's a good process.
Yeah, because it's trying to be organized a little bit.
It's hard.
It is. It is. You always got so many different things to do. And no offense to comics listening, but not always the best at following up and following through with things. You know, like
not really.
I've had plenty of guests where I'm like, hey, can you get me this stuff? And then I don't ever hear from them, and then finally I have to just go try to find it myself. So I was like, I need to get this a little better. So
it's hard because, you know, you do marketing, I do marketing, so we understand, like, when we're trying to do something for marketing, it's not just for like our purpose. Like, if you have a comedian on the show, they are going to get a marketing boost for themselves, whatever the heck they're promoting. If it's just themselves, fine, that's enough. But to not fill out a form with your Instagram, your Twitter, it's like, why do you have a fucking Instagram or Twitter?
Yeah, if you don't want it promoted.
Yeah, you got to promote it with the podcast that you're doing.
Yep.
It's so easy, and then you actually get the full like value of doing it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, you know, try to do. It's like you promote what you're doing, and I'm gonna, you know, hopefully promote you too. So
yeah,
it's like
it's mutually
it's a
beneficial.
team effort.
Yeah, it's a team effort, and everyone
is.
benefits. Just put in a little bit of time.
Just a little bit.
Right.
That's all it takes. Just a little bit. Well, it's funny too. I've talked about it a little bit on this podcast too, though, that we're not good at marketing as comedians, and that's why I'm going to school for marketing, is because it's a skill that comics need. Like we are our own product, and you need to be able to market yourself at some capacity, even if it's not huge. You still need to know a thing or two. So it's all very useful.
Yeah, and the person who had my job before me did not want to do 90% of what you actually have to do marketing, which makes me kind of question what did she do?
Then also why were you in a marketing job if you didn't want to do marketing?
Right. I think she just okay, I'm not gonna
you're like,
I'm making off like a bandit in this situation. I seem really awesome because I'm like, it comes naturally to me from doing marketing as a comedian. Then I do it at a job, and it's just like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you just do the things. It's part of my kind of process as I would do it for myself. If I have a show, it's like, promote it on Instagram, you say something on Twitter, you say different things on different places depending on what your audience is. It kind of just
absolutely
makes sense. Like Facebook, you just kind of radio silence because it's just your aunts and stuff anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just a dumpster fire most of the time anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Sometimes it works. Sometimes being a dumpster fire works.
Yeah,
people watch those.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like for marketing, it's like my personal Facebook gets more response than some of my other stuff, and I'd like it. I've been trying to work on that where I would rather have more interactions on Instagram or Twitter, you know, or YouTube, just because sure it's there, that's what Facebook can be used for, but also it's like I just would rather
you get more reach with Facebook but less engagement. That's what I think it is.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And when it comes to Facebook, when I'm working for my job, they'll give me, here's this much money and ad money. It's like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need any of that.
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
unless you're spending lots of money, I don't think Facebook, their advertising pays off, really.
No.
The return on investment's not very good.
I've heard of several comedy
plenty.
shows that will promote, and you promote for the area, you promote for the right demographics, and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you get some, they say people see it, but it's like, do they? I mean, you can put, they scroll past it, but if they don't click on it, is it really building anything? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. But then I think like I said, if you have tons of money to spend, then they'll then it's like, oh yeah, we'll make sure this gets seen because we want your money.
I mean, the way I look at some of the advertising, I have the options to do. It almost makes more sense if you plan it far enough ahead, you can advertise in those like little neighborhood newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't cost that much money, and they're local to the area, and the people reading it they're highbrow enough to grasp the, urbane dick jokes and stuff. So they're just the right audience you want. I don't think comedians are really thinking, wow, I'm really going to post to the, I don't know, mini haha brigade newspaper or whatever. Yep. But it's something to think about.
Absolutely is. Especially if you're promoting a show. I mean, if you're like the producer or the host or whatever, even like if you're running an open mic, it might not be a bad idea to like throw an ad in somewhere about the show.
And then you can point to that with the venue if you're like looking to get more money for hosting it or keep it going. Say, look, I promote it in this periodical from this, 8 square foot block of this area that is like the perfect demographic for your venue. I'm going to keep doing that. We're going to keep seeing some kind of result from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which it adds value, which gives you more of a bargaining chip for sure.
Yeah.
In a lot of comics, they even got online publications where you can promote events for free. A lot of the newspapers will have, and community pages will have events where you can submit an event for nothing.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think a lot of people realize that either.
That's why I go into some places like they'll have a table of all their people's different cards or whatever for businesses they do, or a cork board. I always look at those just to see what's local, who's offering what, because you never know. And those are places that are not traditional. Like they're not advertising on Facebook. It's right in front of me. So someone made an effort for me to see it. So I might as well look at it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the same way. If I see a board with flyers and stuff, I'm like, I'm stopping. And then I'm like, do I have something I can put on here?
Yeah.
If I have a business card, I'll throw it up.
Yeah. Like Phoenix Theater, they have a whole table of everybody's cards and different show promotional postcard things. And I always look at those. You never know who's got a weird show. Like I get booked on shows that are not like straightforward stand-up comedy. I end up on weird things because I see a card for something and I'm like, maybe I'll do that. And then I sign up and they let me do it. Who knows how it turns out, but I get to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're building a different network too, which which is help. It all helps when you can go outside of your area.
Right. Because I do stand up, but I am also kind of I do some storytelling. I do this thing called Encyclopedia Show where every month there's a different subject and you write something educational / entertaining about that subject, like from a very whatever angle you choose. And I usually find the worst, like least imaginable angle for it, and then I write something for that. It's actually a really nice writing exercise for me, and the audience is not expecting to laugh that much. And then they do, and it feels like kind of a victory, and then I have something to build on if I want to make it a stand-up act thing. But it's yet to transition to that point, but it's fun to explore.
And you do that monthly then? Where do they do that?
They used to do it at Kieran's Pub, downtown Minneapolis, and they had to find a new venue. They just found one. My next show is in May. I don't know where it is.
You're like, it's gonna be in May, but they haven't decided on the venue yet.
I think they might have found a venue. It's probably going to be in a place.
Oh,
so.
well, that's fantastic.
But
shows at places are great.
Shows at places. It's in our dimension.
That's
so
good.
That's
well, that's a good start.
It's going to be about shadows, and I have to
interesting.
find some kind of shadows that I want to talk about. I'm tempted to go. I automatically think eyeshadow, and I want to talk about makeup, but I don't know.
That's
it's
interesting.
Too easy for me.
Well, yeah, I suppose because you kind of dabble with makeup and stuff too, don't you?
I dabble with makeup. Yes.
From what I've seen on social media.
Yeah, I post pictures of like, here's the makeup I own. Pretty great. I did it.
Have you did any shows here recently then?
I just did Monday Night Comedy show last night.
Oh, nice.
It was commented on that the week before it was like standing room only. I don't know if that was a joke, but it might not have been. Sometimes that Monday night comedy show, that dang old Monday night comedy show, I love it. It can be so up and down for attendance. Sometimes
absolutely.
it's just like, it is standing room only sometimes, and sometimes it's like we know the names of everyone in the audience and we talk to them. And
well, and Monday is a tough time to try to do a show, and they've been doing that show forever.
Yes,
like 12 years or something like that.
And who wants to go tie one on a Monday night?
Well,
I know some people.
If you're a pro, I mean,
right.
if I didn't have to go to work the next day, I'd be all for it.
Yeah, there was, I think, a retired couple, Gary and Jerry, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
Gary and Jerry, Tyler, Graham, and Nikki. That was the audience.
So you knew all of them, and then
Yes.
all the comics that go and hang. Were there a bunch of comics?
Yeah, a bunch of comics. So there'd be some material that the audience, who knows if the audience was laughing? There's not enough of them to really
to tell. Yeah,
to tell. But the back of the room was kind of living it up. So
yeah, that's kind of how it goes sometimes down there. I like going down there. I don't go down there enough. As much as I'd like. I don't go out as much as I should. Is what I should say. I could go out as much as I like because I'm an adult and I'm a grown person, but I don't go out as much as I should.
I've been that way for, I want to say, the past year and a half. My last job was super stressful, and it just one of those things where you just have to self-care.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not buying everything that you want. Sometimes it's just not killing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I was just working on not killing myself, and it turned out pretty well.
Well, that's good.
And now I'm just easing down from not doing that job. You just kind of have to recover.
Yeah.
I mean, I was good at it, but
yeah, that might be part of my problem. I'm not a big fan of the job that I do during the day.
Is it more
it's not
related?
No.
Okay,
no.
yeah.
I wish it was. It would
Yeah.
probably be a little more interesting. No, it's very mundane. Mostly working with spreadsheets and doing data entry. Nothing like.
Do you know how to pivot tables?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fun.
It's not fun.
No.
You think it sounds fun because the word pivot.
Right.
That
but
sounds
it's
fun.
Not.
But it's
that
not.
data and a lot of stuff with electronic data and just it's pretty boring. But
yeah, I used to work for a colostomy bag manufacturer where I did Excel spreadsheet data entry kind of stuff. I was working in Microsoft Access, which is I didn't know how bad it was until I started actually trying to work with it, considering it was like an internationally.
Well, yeah, and I think
company,
they've kind of got going away from it.
Yeah,
too. It's not.
It's like
Access isn't a thing, really.
You have to transition away from that, and I can only imagine when you're in the medical, pharmaceutical, whatever industry, how much you have to do to make sure your privacy settings or whatever.
Oh yeah, yep.
Privacy, transitioning everything so everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Testing. I it's so complicated. I don't know how complicated it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely not fun stuff, though. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever. I'm just like, I'm almost done with my degree, so it's like, I just got one more semester, and then I have to take one class over the summer. So.
Oh, nice. That sounds like it'll go right. It'll sail right by.
Yeah,
It'll
exactly.
Sail through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already getting close to halfway through the semester, so it's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into the bombing part of this.
The bombing part of this. I thought about this a lot. There were so many bombing situations. I had to narrow it down. It was like the Sweet 16 and then whatever 8, Final 4.
He had March Madness going on.
March
Madness going on in February for bombing.
Yes. And the story I picked, I don't know. It wasn't as much of a. Okay, I'm still kind of in denial about how much of a bombing it was, but it was probably really bad. I still remember it, so that's indicative.
Still with you, so there you go.
Still with me. Yes. So this was at Acme. Great place to bomb. It's almost like, how bad was it? Because Acme is a pretty generous room.
Mm-hmm.
The audience is very generous on Monday nights, I think. And I think this was when I think it was a little bit before I started getting 5s. I'm not sure if it was a 3 or 5 minute set. Probably felt like 5 and it was 3, something like that. So,
isn't that how it always goes when you're bombing? Feels like an eternity.
Yeah, exactly. And it started off pretty okay. My opening thing was fine. And then I had this bit that only tangentially mentioned Breaking Bad, the show. And this was a month after the series finale had aired, and I made a tag on something about Walter White dying.
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden, there were just groans, lots of groans all over, just dotting the audience. I was like, did I offend a They were just like, no. I was trying to discern what the problem was because I did not understand. I don't watch Breaking Bad. It was a month after the series finale had aired,
mm-hmm.
and I knew the one thing, which was that Walter White died. And I thought, I don't even watch this show, and I know. So this
everybody,
is common knowledge.
Yep.
And so it wasn't even necessary for the joke. It was just a tag I added to be relevant with the people who watch this show. They would enjoy it, perhaps. And they were upset, and I did not know. I couldn't figure it out why they were upset. I was like, maybe they're just still upset that he was dead. And I just kind of kept going. I'm like, whatever. And I just kept talking. And I did eventually end well. People clapped at the end. My closer worked. So it wasn't a complete bomb, but it was unpleasant. And then I got off stage, and I think someone might have actually had to tell me that I spoiled it. I didn't realize.
Yeah, you were just like, oh, I'm sure everybody knows this. I don't watch it. I know it. Right. Everybody's got to know it.
And I saw it on Twitter.
Something.
And then.
It's crazy how angry people get about TV shows.
Yes.
Like spoilers and stuff. I'm like, It's TV. Who gives a shit? I mean, if you don't want a spoiler, stay off of the internet, period. Just stay home. Watch TV from week to week. Wait for your spoiler to be the preview of the next week's episode.
Exactly. And I started, I think I said to somebody, I'm like, it's been a month. It's been a month. I don't watch anything where it's there's that delay in wherever it airs, and then it ends up on Netflix or something a season after or something like that. I've never watched anything where I care about that. I watch West Wing. I don't watch much that's actually currently being aired on television. It's not my thing.
You're like, I'm too cool for regular TV. I wait until it's vintage.
Pretty much,
classic.
Very hipster attitude. Like I watch West Wing. I watch Third Rock from the Sun. We all know how that ends. Actually, I don't remember. But
that was a great series.
It was a pretty great
I
series.
love John Lithgow.
He's so good. We were just watching this movie of his called Raising Cain.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but it's entertaining to see Lithgow they almost have like a Jekyll and Hyde thing of him. Like there's one version of him that's uptight and wants to do the right thing. The other version's like smoking a cigarette and his hair is like slightly disheveled. He's the bad boy of the two of them.
That's funny.
And Lithgow is, anyway.
He's great. He was in a series not too long ago. I think it got canceled now, but it was like trial, something by trial or something. It was where his wife was murdered and he ended up being on trial for it, and it was like a sitcom.
How is
and
this a show?
Oh, it's so hilarious actually. And it's like the small town in like New England or something, and this big New York lawyer comes to be his defense or whatever. It was really good. It was actually a really good series. The first season, he was only in like he might have been in the second season too, but the first season just focused on him, and then the second season was other stuff. But I don't know if I'm pretty sure it got canceled, but I'm sure it's like on Hulu or Netflix or whatever. But it's actually pretty funny.
And at the time when this Breaking Bad thing happened, I didn't have a lot of streaming. I just had Netflix and Hulu or something.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah. And now I have HBO, Showtime, Criterion.
I don't even know what that is.
Criterion is like Criterion movies, like the, hoity-toity, film school.
Oh, okay.
Stuff.
All right.
It's pretty good. Sometimes they'll have like cheesy movies, or you're like, why is this on Criterion or something? But like, it's a weird collection of things. I used to have a service called Mubi. They only had 30 movies available at one time, and every day a new movie would arrive and another movie would leave.
Drop. Okay.
So just kind of almost forcing your hand a little bit if you're indecisive about what next to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that, but then I lost my job, and I'm like, I'm getting rid of Mubi. That'll really save my hide. It's like $8, and I'm like, wow, that did nothing.
Right, that $8, but it adds up when you one service is like whatever, but then when you start having all of them, because it's just like I have Hulu, Netflix, HBO Go, Disney Plus, like those are all.
It adds
I think
up.
those are all, but and Amazon Prime, so like
Amazon Prime.
It like adds up quick.
Yeah. And there are these ads you get on Instagram for these budgeting apps that will find things that you're spending too much money on and be like, do you want to cancel this? It's like, no.
No, that's how I stay sane.
I need Mubi. Don't do this to me.
I need to be distracted from the dumpster fire of the world.
Exactly. So the Breaking Bad thing, I went from not comprehending my error to defending the error, because I started thinking, a month is a long time for this to be available information. I knew it without any effort whatsoever, and a lot of people have told me that it was a pretty predictable outcome of the series, that Walter would die. He had cancer.
What?
Did he? I don't know.
What?
What did I say? I don't know. What was that? Maybe he didn't. And so I started reading all these think pieces online about spoiler culture, what spoiler etiquette is, and I was looking for something very specific to Breaking Bad. Like, is there an article that advocates for my redemption, that in fact I did the right thing and these people were wrong and they should just suck it up and get whatever they need to get so they can watch the Breaking Bad and, stop being so butthurt about this, because there are real problems in the world, like people who actually have cancer and actually die from it. I think at the time my dad actually did have cancer.
Oh, Jesus.
He's fine.
I was going to say, I was like, I don't know where to go with that. That was kind of an evil laugh, too. It's like, my dad had cancer.
Yeah. No, he had cancer. It was like stage 4 cancer.
Oh, Jesus.
But he's been cancer-free for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Good for him. That's good.
Yeah, not 4 years. Maybe 3. I don't know. I don't pay attention. But he's alive.
Like, he's alive. That's all that matters.
He's been in remission or whatever, and he's doing good. So, but at the time, I was like, there are all these like different like facts that I know. Like, my dad has cancer, and that's serious. And this Breaking Bad thing doesn't seem that serious, but people are really upset about it in a serious way, and I have to balance that with my understanding of what is actually a problem.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
Right.
Which is, it's funny that you kind of bring that up as a point, because I was just listening to a podcast earlier before you got here, and it was the guest was Ben Gleb. I think that's how you say it. I'm probably wrong, but anyway, he's a comedian that ran for president.
Right.
And he ended up dropping out or whatever. But he was talking about all the stuff going on in the country. He was like, you look at last week, you got, between the impeachment trial, Trump's doing his State of the Union address. There's all the stuff going on in Iowa with, all this issues and stuff and this and that. And everybody's just upset about the Super Bowl. He was like, and he was like, our focus and our priorities are really messed up, because that's what everybody's angry about, and you got all these real issues that are out there and people are upset about that, which kind of goes back to what you were saying, where it's just like, it's easy to get like people get so off balance with how they like see things, and like they take so much into like television and fantasy, that's their issue, that, oh my God, you spoiled this show, the world's over. And it's like, yeah, no, the world's over because real things are ending it.
Absolutely.
It's like
and I think everybody almost feels like they should have something that will upset them. And they don't have the attention span to be upset about impeachment stuff or serious things, but they do have the attention span for Breaking Bad. And this is the thing they can get offended about because they're aware of it.
Yep.
This is their attention level to, this is their easy pleasure, their thing they enjoy. And I fucked it up for them and I'm the bad person. But going back to that, in all my thinking about how I'm defending myself, like, I have every right to spoil this show for people who are to whatever, to watch the finale. But at the end of the day, I am a comedian. I'm up there to entertain people, make their lives maybe happier for a moment, and I robbed them of it for a little bit. But at the same time, I think, wow, what a memorable moment. They got to see me do that. And maybe they're just like, God, what a moronic thing to do. And I actually remember seeing Raghav Mehta tweet about it, or he Facebook posted about it or something.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, I was still kind of traumatized at the time. I'm like, I did nothing wrong. I was so upset. And I think he actually deleted it. Someone like responded like, who gives a shit? And he deleted it.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like, yeah, nobody gives a shit. I do, but
well, and obviously all them people that got angry about it. Yeah. It's funny too, because with streaming, people just had cable. There wouldn't be a spoiler because that's what everybody does now. They don't watch regular TV. They just have all the streaming services, so they wait for the season to come out, And so when the season finale comes out, they got to wait a freaking year to watch the series anyway, too. Like, and then they get upset. It's like, you're going to try to go a whole year after it's ended without spoilers, and then when you hear a spoiler, you're going to get upset. It's like, what's the appropriate timeline for this?
Right.
I don't know.
I think all
cracks
the
me up.
fan ships of all these different shows are so splintered. Like there's so many different kinds of shows you can be a fan of, that how often are these things coming up? Like if you watch Schitt's Creek, for instance.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
of people watch that, but how often is Schitt's Creek coming up in conversation and like plot points and what's happening? It's mostly like quotes and Moira's outfits, David's outfits.
Yep.
Kind
of the little highlights and stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly like fan things that aren't spoilers at all. And yeah, I think there aren't that many actually like broad things that everybody's rooting for or following, and then one person can just spoil the ending for them. It's like, it's not like I knew before it aired and I told people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, it's funny, I think the best spoiler I've ever heard somebody do, I used to own a comic book shop, and we were just standing kind of in a circle talking, a bunch of people that hang out at the shop. And one of the guys that hung out on a regular basis, I don't even know why we're talking about it, but the new Superman movie had just come out. And one of the guys is just like, he just like went on this like tangent, and he's just like goes off, and he's like, Bruce Willis is a ghost and Superman has a son. And then one of the guys that was in the crowd looks over at him. He's like, wait, Superman has a son? And he just like spoiled the Superman movie for him. It was so funny. He was just like, and then my friend was just like, oh shit, I'm sorry, dude.
I kind of feel differently about movies, to be honest. Like if a movie's out for a month, it's like, come on, you gotta give people a chance to go on $5 day. On
right?
Tuesdays,
Yeah, get that cheap movie in.
Yeah, get the cheap one in. Movies, I think, are a little different, but I think people don't talk enough about, not enough, but people don't talk about plot that much with movies. They just automatically go to, I liked it or I didn't like it.
Yeah, which is true, because it's like, it's a one-time thing. Well, unless it's really good and then they make a bunch of sequels or whatever, but it's not like, there's not like a continued storyline like with a series, you know? You know, you don't know, especially when you're vested, you know, like a series, if it, you know, goes 6 or 7 seasons, you've invested 6 or 7 years essentially into that. So people put a lot more into the TV shows.
Yeah. And TV shows now, I mean, I don't know if Breaking Bad, if it were to come out now, if they'd do it differently, but so many TV shows on streaming, the season just comes out and that's it. It's
you
pop and it's done. And if you don't, you can binge watch it if you want to and get the whole thing in, you know, a weekend or something.
Or day if it's really good.
Yeah,
I did that where I've like started watching something, just, you know, it's just like, I'll check it out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, where did my day go?
Right. I forget last time I did that with something.
I did that with Fleabag.
Oh, I haven't seen Fleabag
It's really
yet.
good.
I gotta do it. Everyone tells me I gotta
do it. I saw it won a bunch of awards, and I was like, I'm curious now, and I just like hooked.
I started watching Barry.
Okay. That's another good one.
My boyfriend was watching it. He finished it, and then I'm like, maybe I'll watch it. And then when the 3rd season comes out, we can watch it together, because it's a whole like thing about like, I don't like a lot of the stuff he likes. He doesn't like the stuff I like. So whenever we can find something we both enjoy, it's kind of like, oh, this is a nice thing that we can enjoy together. Let's not like spoil it or whatever, ruin it by like enjoying it separately. Like you end up saving episodes, you know, because it's like, oh, I want to watch it, but he's like busy pooping or whatever, so I have to wait. It's just such a bummer, but
oh my god, that couple stuff. It's just the worst.
It is the worst.
Gotta wait for my significant other to watch a show. Jeez.
Well, luckily, like the stuff that I'll be like ravenous about, where I want to just like finish it. Like I'm watching this show called Next in Fashion on Netflix. My boyfriend could not care less about that, because it's designing dresses that he probably wouldn't wear. So it's pretty. I just like cranked through it yesterday. Like I think I got through 7 episodes.
Oh wow.
It's like I'm not even that invested in this, but I don't want to move and I don't want to pick something else.
So just let it play.
Yeah.
I actually do that a lot too, or where I'm like doing one thing
and
I'll just put something on in the background. I'm hardly even paying attention, and it just doing stuff, and then it goes forever.
I love having something else going, and I want to be able to do something at the same time.
Background noise is all it is to me.
Some things I want to pay full attention to, and some things I just want to have on while I read or do work stuff or write or whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same there. Now, getting back into the bombing thing, what do you try to learn from when you have a bad set? Obviously, that you talked about how you went and tried to research to find validity. I don't even know if that's a word, but validity. There we go. Thank you. I'm not good at pronouncing words.
Okay.
My fiance gives me shit all the time because I'm always saying words wrong.
Yes.
But yeah, so you tried to do that by researching and stuff. But what else do you try to do?
I try to. Oh, this is a little probably. I get too much in my head about it. That's probably maybe how good things happen. I try to remember my reaction to it and think, how was I feeling? What did I say? What did I do? And I try to go to that and think and trying to find value in what I did. Like, here's a good thing you did about the bombing. Just so I don't feel like, oh, I bombed and I'm irredeemable and this was a waste of my night to even come here.
Yeah, so you try to balance it out, try to find something good out of the bad. That way it's not.
Yeah. I think about, well, compared to last time I bombed, I handled it pretty well. I don't feel like jumping off a bridge. So that's good. My emotional well-being is a little bit better. I'm maturing here. This is happening. And then I think about, okay, what led up to the moment that it just kind of fell off? Like, the opening was good. Then the second thing was good. And the third thing, what happened with the third thing? Do I have to work on the segue? Because there's either I start off completely wrong, which has happened. Sometimes I'll think, oh, I'll do this off the cuff thing at the top of my set instead of my first joke, and then it's stupid. And
I do that all the time.
You think you're like, I'm gonna just be so
this is gonna be so hilarious. This off the cuff thing I just thought of as I was walking on stage, and then I'm just like, oh, whoops.
I'm just gonna riff for 3 minutes,
and then I just derailed my whole set.
yeah, and it's like you want to establish I don't want to make it sound like so much work, but you're kind of introducing yourself to the audience, and if you're introducing yourself in this really what ends up being an awkward, ill thought out way, they chill on you a little bit. They're like, I don't even know what they're doing, and especially if it's an open mic, it's like another loser. I don't know.
That's probably exactly what they're thinking. They're just like, oh, another person who thinks they're a comedian.
Right, exactly. It's just like doing a PowerPoint.
Right.
I've heard that, and at the time I was like, 6 months into comedy, and I'm like, that is offensive to me. It is not. I was like, I wish it was like a PowerPoint. Nail it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you record your sets at all, and if you do follow up, do you have any issue listening back or watching yourself?
I rarely watch myself. I should. There are a lot of things I know I should be doing with comedy.
No, is it because you just don't want to watch yourself, or just okay? Yeah. so you have issue with watching yourself.
I think a lot of it is I focus on the wrong things when I watch myself. I'll think about my hair and the shirt, and I should iron my clothes for once, and look presentable. Things that the audience doesn't really care about. I know that. And sometimes I have recorded audio. I'm not so great about following up and listening to it. I know it's a part of the process, but I always want to just go right. And I always think, well, the writing is going to take care of any of my shortcomings as a performer, but that's not true. There's something to be said for delivery and knowing how you
timing
and why
stage presence, all that.
Am I doing this thing with a mic stand that's distracting? Do I keep touching my hair?
Which that's actually one thing that's good about watching video is you really see your tics.
Yes.
That you don't realize you have when you're on stage. Like that was something and somebody else pointed it out that I used to look down a lot, but then I started looking at video and I was like, holy shit, I do look down a lot, instead of looking into the audience or whatever. But, just like what you said, if you're like tapping the microphone stand or twirling your, like all those little things people don't realize they're distracting to an audience. Because that it takes their focus away from what you're saying and puts it on the, oh, they're playing with their hair,
They start thinking about who are you really?
Yeah, right.
Like, they're not focusing on what you're performing. They're thinking about your other self that you are half-assedly concealing. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're good at evaluating yourself as far as...
I'm a pretty harsh critic of myself, which I think is the better way to be compared to not thinking you have any faults at all. There are some people who think every set went really well.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
Seen plenty of them.
I killed. And you wonder if they just had like a different... if they're just perceiving things wrong. Like, do I see the color red as other people see the color red?
Yeah.
Is red blue to other people?
It's like, what's going on here? I just don't know.
What is reality? It's a very Hegelian thing. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
When you started, how often did you go to mics?
Oh, gosh. It was a lot more than I do now. But
yeah.
I think there was one week I went to 11 mics.
Oh, wow.
That was when we had a slightly more robust open mic scene in the Twin Cities, and I had slightly more robust free time. So I think there was one Tuesday nights used to be a big night. I think I went to 4 mics on a Tuesday night.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Which is, I don't think we have that many on Tuesday nights anymore. Not by a long shot, unless you really.
No, I think there's only a couple, if that.
They'd all be run by Sarah McPeck.
Yeah, well, she runs one on Tuesday.
She runs one on Tuesday. She could run 4 on Tuesday if she really.
I believe it.
I've told her your hustle is admirable.
Yeah,
so much.
I enjoy her Wednesday mic when I can get out to it.
Is that the Black Hearts?
Yep.
One? Yeah, that one's really good.
Yep, I like
it's
it.
A separate room.
I like that it's close to where I live.
Yes.
It's like 10 minutes from where I live, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I always give favoritism to the mics that are 15 minutes or less.
That's a good way to be.
To where I live.
Yeah, and I think that one's not even that far from me either. It might be like 15 minutes because I'm kind of in South Minneapolis and it's not that far. Yeah. But what I was starting to record myself. I had this little like watch thing that could record my sets. I just hit a button. Oh. And I'd have to like hook it up to a computer or something. And that was where it fell off. Like,
oh, like so you were recording, but then there's that extra step to listen to it where you have to hook it up to a computer. Yeah. Oh, I could totally see how.
And I accidentally recorded myself peeing like more than once. So disappointing. You like work up the courage to listen to yourself perform, and then it's
just you peeing, like, you in the bathroom. Oh my god!
I do better than this usually. Like, duh.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought it's like I almost want. Sometimes in a lot of things, not just comedy, you think if you buy this one device that this is the thing that's gonna make me do the other things.
To get better.
Yeah, like working out. You buy like, I need the clothes, I need the shoes, I need the thing, the sweatband or whatever, and then it's like you still don't want to go.
Yep. No. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
The bumming and bombing, that dreadful feeling. How long does that typically last for you now?
Oh gosh. Trying to think of a recent time that I bombed. I think probably Monday Night Comedy Show. That's kind of where I get like, I want to do new stuff. It's like Monday feels where you just want to like come out guns blazing with a bunch of new stuff, but it's Monday and I've been at work all day or something and I haven't had time to really sit down and work on the new stuff. So it's very half-baked, quarter-baked. And I'm like, I still want to do new stuff. I don't care if it's not ready. Fuck it. I'm ready. The mic is here. It is now. This is happening. Do it. And I get over it pretty quickly now.
Oh, that's good.
It's new stuff. And I'm like, I want to write new stuff. It's not going to get better until I perform it. And this is where it's at. This is where I'm at. And if I wait for the writing to be perfect before I go, I'm never going to go because,
Oh yeah, if you're I know exactly what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
When you're your own worst critic, it's like, well, it's never going to be good enough, and if you wait for it to be good enough, you'll be waiting forever.
Wait till you're ready, then you'll be waiting forever or something
Yep,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you've ever said to a crowd?
Oh God, I think I told a guy I was going to shoot him.
Oh wow.
That was on Halloween. I was not drunk. He, I believe, was drunk. He was like talking during this. It was galactic. I was dressed up as Beetlejuice. I don't know why. Beetlejuice never used guns. He wasn't a violent guy, I don't think. But it was something about like he'd done a set and he went over his time by like a really long time. And I finally got up and he was talking during my set, and they were like at the table right next to the stage, and his friends were there.
So he was obviously not like a regular comic because he wasn't
No.
following like etiquette.
No, he was just there to do the mic the one time, and I think he left his notebook on stage. And Turner and I went on stage to get him off stage because he wouldn't leave, and I grabbed his notebook and started like reading his jokes out.
Oh, that's funny.
It's so mean. That is so mean.
So the worst thing you've ever said to a crowd was you read their jokes to them.
Yeah. I suppose that is meaner than saying I'm gonna shoot you. Like
it's like I'm gonna read your terrible jokes at you.
Yeah, because the other thing is a threat, and that was the thing I actually did.
Oh, that's funny.
Pretty bad. I don't know. I don't get that way where I blame the audience. Like, you're just not getting it. I'm actually really funny. Just, you don't get it. It's my job to be funny. If they don't like it, then it didn't work out.
Yeah, then something needed to be different.
Like if two ships are passing the night, which ship is the asshole? Like, neither ship is an asshole. It's just not happening.
Yep. They're in the canal together.
Yes.
I always like to try to end on a positive note. What is something, and it can be personal or career or comedy, anything you want, but something you're really proud of that you've accomplished in life thus far? On the spot.
I feel bad because I know whatever I'm going to pick, I'll think of something else later and be like, that other thing is so much better. I should probably pick a comedy thing that I was proud of. When I got the call back for Last Comic Standing a couple years back for like the last season that they did that was super fun. And I didn't get on the show because reasons. I think I'd only done stand up for like 2 years. And I think
probably didn't have representation and all that stuff.
I had nothing. I was just
all undiscovered comics.
Yeah. I'm sure they have. I have no idea what the process is, but it was so fun, and having NBC like pay for my cab ride and my hotel room and stuff.
Oh wow! You got to go out to LA?
Yeah.
To do the
they flew
callback.
me out because I did the audition thing at Acme.
Yep.
And the audience for that first audition night was just it was such a hot room. I wasn't able to get through much of my set because it was just like I only had 3 minutes and the audience is just too hot. Like they're laughing so much, and it's not because I'm so funny. It's like it's just that many people.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The excitement of that situation.
It's easy to not, to write a set and not account for laughs and laughs breaks.
Yeah, it's like I knew people would laugh, but I had no idea just what I was dealing with. So I didn't. And at one point, someone actually I think repeated one of my my jokes, and I had to just like cruise right through it. I had to just completely ignore it because you can't. If you have 3 minutes and it's already like you're under the gun to get
absolutely
out. Yeah. So I was just like, even thinking back to that, I'm so like happy that I didn't engage with that or even let it bother me at the time. I just kept going. And I mean, I really practiced that set. Like, I'm not really, stand in front of the mirror or say the set out loud in my car or anything like that. But for that, I did, just so for 3 minutes, I'm shooting my shot. I need to have this like exactly where it needs to be. And then I got to LA, and then we had the callback thing at the John Lovett's Comedy Club, no longer a thing.
Yep, I remember it.
Really
I remember it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I remember the club.
Yeah, and that was I had what it felt like a really good set, and I think they talked to me about how I got into stand up, and I trotted out the reality was like my grandmother had died, and it made me think about life and things, and like the more I think about that, I'm like, that is such like an obvious like attempt to have a storyline.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't think of it that way. I
just thought, yeah, because it was your truth.
It was my truth. I was being authentic, but it's such a common authenticity that it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. So it's kind of mine too, how mine is.
Yeah, and I was like, well, would I have really wanted to be on that show at 2 years into comedy if I'm gonna have to compete and try to get to these next levels? Like, fuck yes. But
well, yeah, I mean,
probably wouldn't have been the best for me. Like, it was probably a good thing that it was not good. No. I can see the silver lining in failure. So that's it. Like that was a good achievement, like a pretty good achievement comedy. Also getting into the San Diego Comedy Festival, that was my first festival I got into, and that was an achievement for me because I was like, festivals were so intimidating to me at the time. And I was just like, I hope I get in. And then I did. And it was awesome. And I got to go out to San Diego and see other people perform and go to these other venues and perform like a clean set at like 3:00 in the afternoon. It was like, I've never
good
done
old
that.
family-friendly comedy.
That family-friendly comedy. I wasn't even planning on getting into that. I think at first I was in that showcase and I'm like, no. Can I get into like the not family unfriendly show? Can I get into that? And I did. But then I think I got there early enough that I was put onto the clean show and I had to like
I think you're right. I think we had a drop or something. Yeah. Something happened.
Is that still happening? Is Brandon still doing that?
Brandon does not. Brandon actually stepped away after like 2 or 3 years, and then I kept doing it for another 2.
Okay.
And then another company ran it. Another group of people ran it for the 6th year, and I have no idea what's going on with it now. So this is a weird question, but did you sell it to someone to run? No, we didn't actually own it. I worked for the so the people that own the Comedy Palace where the festival's hosted. Okay. The owners of the club, they actually own the festival, and so I worked for them as an independent contractor.
Oh, so. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm always kind of
we were actually working for them. So it kind of stemmed from Brandon and I had talked about putting on a festival, and we'd heard rumor that they had been kind of working on one, so we approached them about it, and then we were just like, how about instead of competing, we just work together. And they weren't really doing anything with their festival, so they just let us take it and do what we did. So yeah, so it worked out good. Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, now I don't know what's going on with it. So.
It was a good thing while it lasted. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's I mean, the festival's done some good things for some people. I mean, Taylor Tomlinson is a good example. She was there the first year, and she made it into the finals. She didn't win, but she ended up getting an college agent out of the deal. Oh, yeah. And then that helped her get into other representation, and she's got a Netflix special coming out in March. So, right. I mean,
you never know.
Yeah. So, and there's been some other people that made some pretty good connects from that.
Was like that Zoltan guy.
Yep, he won the first year.
Yeah. Was he in it? Oh, he won it.
Yeah. He was. Not only was he in it, he won it.
That's why I remember his name.
Yeah.
Did that guy who didn't win it maybe win it? No, it's the winner who won it.
Yeah, the winner that won it. All right. Well, where can people find you?
Let me think. Where can they find me? My next show that I am willing to talk about is May 3rd. That is the Encyclopedia show at a venue. I don't know the name of the venue. Please follow me on Instagram and I will post about it.
What's your Instagram? Shout it out.
Instagram handle is Wyatt_twerk, as in Wyatt Earp, but with twerk.
Oh, clever. I always wondered about that.
It's so stupid.
I was like, what? I don't get it. But now, okay, that makes sense.
There was a moment where twerking was a thing, and I thought it was funny to make a punny Instagram handle out of it before I knew all that much about marketing.
Now you're like, oh man,
like, I could be like Kanye Twitty or whatever.
That's actually really good.
It exists, I think, is the problem.
It probably does. That's pretty good. That's funny. All right. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitzed Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week, and remember, stay safe so you can live to love.